Let's react.
This was the song that told you the Rolling Stones were chasing something, and it wasn't really them. Let me say this before anyone gets upset. I love the Rolling Stones, legendary band, iconic songs, one of the greatest rock bands ever. But even legends, well, sometimes they get it wrong. And the Stones got it wrong more than once. Not because they were lazy, not because they didn't care, but because they chased what was popular at the time instead of trusting what made them special in the first place. Now, when people think of the Rolling Stones, they think raw rock, blues, danger, attitude. They don't think trend chasers. But if you really look at their career, especially from the late 60s onward, you start noticing a pattern. Whenever music changed, the Stones didn't always lead. Sometimes they followed. Let's rewind a bit. In the early days, the Stones were authentic. They loved American blues. They meant it. You could hear it. They weren't copying trends. They were reviving something old and dangerous. That's why early Stones felt so real. But once they became massive, the pressure changed. Because when you're huge, the question becomes, do we set the direction or do we stay relevant? And that's where things get tricky. Let's talk about the first big trend chase, psychedelia, the late 60s. Everyone's doing it. The Beatles, Pink Floyd, Jefferson Airplane, trippy sounds, studio experiments, weird lyrics. And the Stones, they didn't want to be left behind. So they made their Satanic Majesty's request. And yeah, this is where fans start getting uncomfortable. Some fans loved it though. This album doesn't sound like the Stones. It sounded like the Stones trying to sound like someone else. Layers, effects, fantasy lyrics. It's not awful, don't get me wrong. It just felt forced, or feels forced. Like they're wearing clothes that don't quite fit. And the reason it sticks out so badly? Because the Stones were never a head in the clouds band. They were a boots on the ground band. Dirt, sex, street level danger. Psychedelia just didn't suit them. Even they knew it. They course corrected fast after this. So, lesson learned, right? Not quite. Because the Stones will do this again and again. Fast forward to the to late 70s. Rock music is changing. Disco is everywhere. Clubs, radio charts, TV. They had everything. Even the cartoons, the shows were like having disco segments. Anyway, suddenly guitar bands were panicking. What do we do now? Enter Miss You. I love that song, by the way. Now, here's the thing. Miss You is not a bad song.
Friends of mine that say, hey, what's the matter, man?
Now, here's the thing. Miss You is not a bad song. It's catchy, it's fun, it worked. But it doesn't sound like the Rolling Stones. It sounds like the Stones watching disco from the doorway and thinking, all right, let's have a go. That bass line, pure disco. The rhythm, dance floor. Mick Jagger even admitted he was hanging out in clubs and soaking it all in. Club 54, I'm guessing. And look, I get it. They wanted to stay current. But here's the problem. When the Stones chase trends, they lose their danger. They become observers, not instigators. And this is the key idea for this whole documentary. When the Rolling Stones lead, they are untouchable. When they follow, they're just another band trying to keep up. Disco wasn't the last time either. Let's talk about punk. Late 70s, punk explodes raw, fast, and everything. Bands like Sex Pistols are tearing up the rule book. And the Stones, they respond with some girls. Now, this is where it gets complicated. Because Some Girls is actually a great album, but part of it are very clearly reacting to punk. Shorter songs, sharper edges, less polish. The Stones are basically saying, see, we can be rough too. But here's the thing, the Stones didn't need punk. They were already dangerous. So when they leaned into it, it felt slightly unnecessary, like they were proving something they didn't need to prove. Then comes the 80s, and this is where trend chasing really starts to show, because the 80s are brutal to legacy bands. Synths, gloss, big production, and the Stones tried to adapt. Albums like Emotional Rescue, Undercover, Dirty Work, These records feel confused, not bad, but unsure. You can hear them asking, are we still relevant? And once bands start asking that, the magic starts slipping. Let's talk about Emotional Rescue for a second. There are moments on that album that feels like the Stones are chasing new wave, disco, pop all at once. Falsetto vocals, polished grooves. It's not wrong, it's just not natural. The Stones sounds best when they sound like they don't care what's popular. This album sounds like they cared a lot. Then there's Undercover, darker themes, modern production, political ideas. Again, nothing wrong with experimenting, but the Stones experimenting often feels like we're reacting to the moment instead of we're creating a moment. Big difference. And Dirty Work, outside writers trying to sound heavy again. It's the sound of a band chasing relevance instead of trusting legacy. Now, compare that to when the Stones stopped chasing. Albums like Exile on Main Street, Sticky Fingers. These albums don't care about trends, they don't care what's on the radio. They sound like the Stones locked in a room doing what they do best, and that's why they last. Here's the uncomfortable truth: the Rolling Stones were at their best when they ignored everyone else. When they chased trends, they didn't fail, but they dimmed. They became less dangerous, less urgent, less essential. Now, to be fair, some trend chasing helped them survive. Disco kept them on the radio, punk kept them sharp, the 80s kept them visible. So, this isn't about setting out, it's about identity. The Stones never lost it completely, but they bent it more than they needed to. And here's why fans feel this instinctively. When you hear classic Stones, you feel attitude. When you hear trend chasing Stones, you feel effort. And effort is the enemy of cool. The funny thing, even when the Stones got trends wrong, they still sounded better than most bands. That's how strong they were. But greatness has a higher standard, and the Stones set that standard themselves. So when you hear Miss You Now, it's a fun song, but it also tells a story about a band looking over its shoulders instead of straight ahead. And that's the lesson here. The Rolling Stones didn't need trends, trends needed them. And every time they forgot that, even briefly, you could hear it. So once again, I hope you enjoyed that. There's membership available if you want to help decide what we do on the channel. There are other perks as well. You should check it out. If you're yet to subscribe as well, this is the time for you to do so before you forget. It's Harry. Thank you for stopping by. I'll see you later. Bye.